"Do you think you own this place now, old woman?" The words were sharp, careless, and cruel. The slap came faster than the question, loud enough to freeze the room and crack something deeper than skin. The elderly woman did not scream. She did not raise her voice. She did not fall. She stood there, thin hands trembling at her sides, eyes steady, breathing slow, as if she had learned long ago how to endure pain without letting it show. The store fell into a heavy silence. People stood in frozen rows between shelves stacked with bright boxes and polished signs. A few gasps escaped. A few eyes turned away. Most people said nothing at all. Silence spread faster than outrage ever could. The woman was small, wrapped in a faded brown coat that smelled faintly of clean soap and old paper. Her gray hair was pulled back neatly, like she still believed appearances mattered even when the world stopped caring. Her skin showed the map of a long life, wrinkles earned, not rushed, strength worn quiet. She had come in for one thing, simple return. A receipt folded so carefully it could have been a letter from another life. The manager stood stiff, chest rising too fast, already realizing he had gone too far, but too proud to step back. His name badge shone bright against his pressed shirt. Authority sat on his shoulders like a costume. He had never learned to wear with grace. He waited for her to break. She didn't 30 seconds earlier, she had been invisible. Now, she was the center of a storm no one wanted to face. Her name was Evelyn Carter. She was 78 years old, and she had buried more people than most of them had ever truly known, long before the store lights buzzed above her. Before the cold tile numbed her feet through thin shoes, Evelyn had learned what it meant to stand still while the world pushed hard against you. She remembered red dirt and hot wind from a place most people only saw on screens. She remembered the smell of metal and oil, the ache in her bones after nights without sleep. She remembered hands shaking not from fear but from the weight of responsibility. She had been a nurse once, not the kind people clap for on holidays, the kind who stayed when others ran, the kind who learned how to speak softly to the dying so they would not feel alone. She had stitched skin under flickering lights. She had pressed cloth against wounds that never stopped bleeding. She had written letters home for men who could no longer hold a pen. She had promised mothers that their sons were brave, even when bravery had nothing to do with how they left this world, and she had kept every promise. After the service ended, the world moved on quickly. Too quickly. Parades ended. Flags folded. Names faded. But Evelyn kept going. She worked night shifts. She raised children not her own when families broke apart. She learned how to survive on less, how to stretch meals, how to swallow grief without letting it poison her kindness. Her husband died young. Her brother never came back. Friends vanished one funeral at a time. Loss became familiar, like an old ache that never fully leaves. Still, she woke each morning. Still, she pressed her clothes. Still, she believed dignity was something no one could take unless you gave it away. That belief stood with her now as the sting of the slap burned across her face. The store manager cleared his throat, trying to regain control. He muttered something about policy, about rules, about respect, as if respect could be demanded instead of earned. Evelyn looked at him, really looked at him, felt something she hadn't felt in years. Not anger, pity. Around them, customers shifted. A young mother pulled her child closer. A man near the checkout stared at the floor, jaw tight. An employee behind the counter looked like she wanted to disappear. No one stepped forward. The silence grew heavier, pressing down on the room. Evelyn reached slowly into her coat pocket. Not in panic, not in fear, just careful, deliberate movement. The same way she had learned to move in places where sudden gestures could cost lives. She pulled out her receipt. Her hand shook, but her voice did not. She said she only wanted what was fair. The manager scoffed. He told her she was causing trouble. He told her to leave, and then he added one sentence too many. People like you always think the world owes you something. That was when something changed, not in Evelyn's face, not in her posture, but in the air itself. Because somewhere deep beneath the years and the grief and the quiet endurance lived a woman who had once commanded rooms without raising her voice. A woman who had learned that real power does not shout. Evelyn folded the receipt again. Slower this time. She said nothing. She turned and walked toward the front of the store. The manager followed, talking louder now, trying to pull eyes back onto himself, trying to reclaim control. But eyes were already shifting, watching her, feeling something they couldn't name. At the front desk, Evelyn stopped. She reached into her coat once more. This time, she pulled out a small leather wallet, worn soft by decades of use. Inside was not money. It was a card. She placed it on the counter gently, like it mattered. The employee behind the desk froze when she saw it. Her eyes widened. Her breath caught. She looked at the manager, then back at Evelyn, then again at the card. "Sir," she whispered, "you might want to look at this." The manager rolled his eyes and snatched it up, and then the color drained from his face. The card was simple. No shine. No flashy title. Just a name and a role printed clean and clear. Evelyn Carter. Chairwoman, owner, the building, the brand, every paycheck. Every rule, he thought, protected him. All of it answered to her. The room seemed to tilt. The manager laughed once, short and sharp, like a mistake trying to become a joke. He said there must be some confusion. Evelyn met his eyes. Her voice, when she finally spoke again, was calm and steady. She said confusion is what happens when people mistake silence for weakness. A few employees stepped closer without realizing it. Something in them straightened. She looked around the store. At the people who worked long hours. At the customers who trusted this place to treat them fairly. At the fear that had lived too comfortably in these walls. She said she had built this company with one promise. That no one would ever be made to feel small for simply being human. Then she turned back to the manager. She said today, that promise had been broken. She did not raise her voice. She did not insult him. She did not need to. She told him he was done. Not just him. Every supervisor who had stood by. Every leader who had learned to look away. Every person who believed power meant permission to harm. She said 2 minutes was all it took to show who they truly were. Security arrived, not rushing, but firm. The manager tried to speak. The words tangled and fell apart before reaching anyone who cared. As they were escorted out, no one clapped. No one cheered. They simply watched. Sometimes justice is loud. Sometimes it is quiet enough to hear your own heart beating. Evelyn turned to the employees. Who remained, she apologized. Not because she had done wrong, but because leadership meant owning the pain of those who trusted you. She promised training. She promised change. She promised to listen, and people believed her. One by one, customers began to stand a little taller. A few wiped their eyes. Someone whispered, "Thank you." Before she left, Evelyn paused at the door. She touched her cheek, still warm from the slap. She said a final line that would be remembered long after the store closed that night. Respect is not about age, color, or title. It is about how you treat someone when you think no one is watching. Outside, the air felt different. Lighter dot, Evelyn walked to her car alone, as she preferred. She sat for a moment before starting the engine, hands resting on the wheel. She thought of faces from long ago, of voices lost, promises kept, she thought. Of how strength does not always look like standing tall. Sometimes it looks like standing still and letting the truth catch up that day. A store learned a lesson, and so did everyone who watched. If this story moved you, share where you are watching from, tell us what respect means to you, and subscribe. For more stories that remind us that the quietest strength is often the most powerful.